Alright guys, I'm gonna try to read again. I'm gonna pick up where I left off.
Muffled
Oh my god, I did it.
muffled thunder. Just move past it.
Muffled. Muffled. What the fuck's up with that word?
All right, here we go again.
Muffled thunder. Fuck it. Muffled thunder.
Rumbled from
Outside. Madeline spat out a curse. I hate thunderstorms.
if the lightning causes power
Issues in here. The hall doors will seal
us all in like rats. Bruce looked towards the doors. Nothing's going to happen to you. Was all he. Nothing's going to happen to you. Was all he was
really trying to
reassure her. Even if it did, I'm sure they'd evacuate all of you. Madeline ignored him and continued looking down. Just rats in cages. She shuddered and made herself smaller. She's claustrophobic. Are you all right? What happened to you? She took another long moment to respond. I refused to take my IV today. We had a little fight in the clinic. An IV? Draken hadn't mentioned that Madeline was receiving medicine. They hurt you? Is it obvious? Madeline lifted her head up at that and gave him a wry look. Then she put her head down on the bed again and said, Don't tell Draken, you know. I'd like her to keep thinking I'm difficult. I'm sorry, Bruce said, and to his surprise, she actually was. He actually was. I'm gonna just keep going though. Whoever had
gripped her arm had done it roughly, hardly the work of a trained professional.
a rush of
Anger walled up in his chest at that.
He thought of the
Inmate James had shoved
against the wall on Bruce's first day. The inmate had attacked him, sure, but the warden also didn't seem to have a problem with treating the prisoners roughly. Bruce hadn't thought they'd do it to someone as young as Madeline. Did Draken know about this? It's not your fault, Madeline muttered. She leaned over and dangled her legs over the side of the bed. Then she looked at him. You asked me why I decided to tell you about the underground room? Bruce nodded quietly, waiting for her to continue. After your parents died, how did you cope? A weight hit Bruce. Be careful. What does that have to do with anything? It has to do with everything. She brought her shoulders in until she looked even smaller. People always expect you to move on so quickly after you experience loss, don't they? Madeline looked away. For the first few months, the sympathy pours on you. Then, gradually, it dwindles down. And one day, you find yourself standing alone at the gravesite, wondering why everyone else has moved on to caring about something else while you still stay right here, silently carrying the same hurt. People get bored with your grief. They want something new to talk about. So you stop bringing it up because you don't want to bore anyone. Bruce felt himself nod. And then the words came. He heard himself recount the days before and the days after the theater. Every word infused with anger directed towards her, towards any criminal who killed the innocent and left others to pick up the pieces. When he finished, he half expected her to be smiling, taunting him again, gloating in getting this information out of him. But she had turned on the Ed to face him directly, her dark eyes grave. Why had he said all that? Did he want her to understand the pain she'd inflicted on others? Or because he wanted to hear her pain, to try to understand her? My mother was sent to prison for killing someone, she replied. She did it out of love for my brother. This was a surprise. Bruce hadn't known why her mother was jailed or anything else about her family. Your brother? He asked. Madeline nodded. I had an older brother. When he was young, a rare bacteria attacked his joints and made him violently sick. He suffered extraordinary pain as the infection ate away at him. She paused, her brows furrowed deeply at the memory. Bruce had never seen her look like this. Her face dark with an expression that reminded him of his first months as an orphan. My mother poured all of her energy into trying to save him, taking him from one clinic to another, being turned down at all of them. She was a professor, but she wasn't rich in any means. Our insurance was a joke. It didn't even come close to covering it. My mother worked extra jobs. She took a deep breath. Bruce felt a twinge of guilt at the reminder of his own fortune and others' lack of it. Finally, she found a doctor willing to take my brother on. We were thrilled. As she spoke, Bruce could picture the scenes playing out before him. A woman sitting by her son's bedside, head in her hands, one run over another to various clinics, each time more desperate. What happened? My brother died under that doctor's watch. She claimed that there'd been nothing she could do, that it was his time, and that he had finally succumbed to the disease. But my mother didn't believe her. Something seemed wrong. So she broke into the office one evening, sifted through the papers, and found out that the doctor hadn't been caring for my brother at all. She'd just been taking our money and feeding him placebos and sugar water. Madeline looked back at Bruce. The doctor walked in while my mother was still there. My mother didn't even hit her hard, just hard enough to kill her. It was an accident. Madeline stopped, and the silence suddenly seemed overwhelming. I'm sorry, Bruce managed to say. What words could he offer other than those? Other than words had anyone else offered him when his own parents had died? She died in prison. No one can tell me exactly what happened to her, although I've seen how they treat their prisoners. Madeline shrugged as if she were wholly accustomed to living with this information. Bruce's eyes went back to her bruises. During her time here, I watched the rich waltz out of jail. I hacked the prison system, and it turns out they always got released on house arrest. Meanwhile, I watched my mother rot away. We had no money. I was 10 years old at the time. 10. The number hit Bruce hard. And suddenly he saw himself at that age, walking alone for the first time to school, facing every afternoon, knowing that Alfred, not his mother or father, would pick him up from the academy. What had Madeline looked like? A small, delicately framed child with long hair and grave eyes. Had she walked alone too? Where did she go with no guardian or money to protect her? How had she ended up here? Another murderer, taking her mother's crime to the next level. Did Draken know all of this about Madeline? Bruce doubted it. She was stern, but she wasn't cruel. You want to ask me why I committed those murders? Tell me, Bruce Wayne. Do you think of me as the same cold-blooded criminal who killed your parents? Do you think I deserve to rot in hell, to die with poison injected into my arm? Poison, sorry. Poison injected into my arm? She sneered. You're a billionaire. What do you really know about me? Would someone like you ever understand desperation? Trust nothing. Suspect everything. His thoughts grew muddled. The images of his parents lying on wet pavement contrasted with the image of a lonely little girl lost without her mother and brother. Bruce shook his head and frowned. If Draken knew this was happening to you, she wouldn't approve of it. I don't even think Dr. James would. Madeline made a disgusted sound in her throat. She rose from the bed and walked over to the window until Bruce was separated from her by inches and a glass barrier. Still so trusting. No one cares what happens to me. They just want the information I can offer them. They'll probably stop allowing you down here. She hesitated, then continued, I don't want to see Gotham City burning. I'd rather die before giving up what I know directly to them. Madeline's eye turned soft, and Bruce could see that they weren't fully dark after all. Now and then, the light hit right. There were slashes of hazel and chestnut brown. If they weren't separated by glass, if she weren't being held in a facility like this, he would find her nearness awkward, even intimate. And that's why you've decided to talk to me. Because you feel like we have something sort of shared history. She furrowed her eyebrows at him, her expression puzzled. I'm telling you this because it's hard to figure you out. Maybe I'm telling you to be careful. She said these last words with such finality that Bruce felt a deep chill in his chest. She's giving me a warning. Her expression shifted again, and she turned her eyes down. She frowned as if unsure of herself for the first time. Maybe I just like you, she muttered. I'm not good at muttering. I mean, I am in real life, but one of the problems I find is I want to make it a performance. And it's not a performance, it's just me reading. But I don't know how to just do that. But I also can't read fast enough to see what the emotion is before I read the dialogue. Also, it's not the worst dialogue I've ever read, but it is far from the best. I'm just gonna do a little more. Her expression shifted again as she turned her eyes down. She frowned as if unsure of herself for the first time. Or maybe I just like you. They're not going to let me talk to you again, Bruce replied, resting his hand against the glass. Draken said this would be my last time down here. She eyed him, untrusting. They can't stop you if they can't see you. She paused to nod at the cams again. If you want to come down here again, you'll have to use the right scrambler at the right frequency. She's tricking you, Bruce told himself, torn between a tide of unease and a well of confusion. Are you seriously telling me to mess with Arkham's security system? Why would I do that? I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just telling you what it would take for you to see me again if you wanted to. If you needed to. Tricks, cons, lies. But there was a strange, silent plea in her words, in the way she said the last phrase, if you needed to. Something in her tone sounded like a warning, something urgent. There must be so much more that she wasn't telling him. Then she shook her head, as if changing her own mind. You don't believe me. Then just don't come back. Tell Draken what I said if you feel like it. None of it will change what happens to me down here anyway. Bruce opened his mouth to reply, but a deafening clap of thunder shook the hall. The lights along the corridor all went out in unison. His words froze unanswered on his tongue. At first, the darkness was all-consuming, so that he felt like he was adrift in a vacuum. Around him came shouts from other inmates in the hall, some whooping, some howling of the guards to come to fix lights. Still others tapping against the glass window of their cells, pushing against the doors as if testing them. Madeline's voice in the mix anymore. Couldn't even see her face directly in front of him. But another sound made every hair on his neck rise. The creak of an opening cell door. A scarlet red frame bathing the hall in blood. Through the light, Bruce saw two of the inmates stepping out of their cells while an urgent voice came over the speaker system. An alarm began to scream, jailbreak. And thus ends Chapter 14. Thank you.